富、名声、力、この世の全てを手に入れた男、海賊王ゴールド・ロジャー。彼の死に際に放った一言は人々を海へ駆り立てた。
俺の財宝か？欲しけりゃくれてやる。探せ、この世の全てをそこに置いてきた。
男たちはグランドラインを目指し夢を追い続ける。世はまさに大海賊時代。
ありつけの夢をかき集め、探し物を探しに行くのさ。ポケットのコイン、So that's who you wanna be, my friend. We are on the cruise. We are. I don't believe I mentioned it last time, but the reason I'm wearing the open button-up shirt with no undershirt underneath it is because this is the closest thing I have to what Luffy wears. Also, especially to what he wears in the live action. Anyways, welcome back to the Pirate Odyssey, where we're gonna talk some more shit and nobody's gonna get hit except for the very deserved shitty live action One Piece adaptation. And maybe we'll get through more than one episode this time.
Cross your fingers.
Cross your fingers. So as always, the podcast's supposed to be about, watching through the anime. First time viewers is CamCam. Long-time viewer, fan of the series myself. But we did do a very special series of episodes on the live-action adaptation. It's bad. Last time we covered the first episode and it took us over 2 hours. This time we're gonna start with episode 2, which apparently you had no notes for prior to, or last week you had no notes for, and this week it's been so long since I took the notes, or rather it's been like a week since I took the notes. I might not remember what half of them are for.
Yeah, I did write some notes today, so we'll see how it goes.
Yeah. So the first episode of the live-action adaptation covers the entirety of what's known as the Romance Dawn arc in the manga, which is the first chapter. Actually, it doesn't, technically. But plot-wise, it does. All the way up through Shell's Town, the Marine base. The reason it doesn't is because it cuts up Luffy's backstory to also take place in episode 2, which is the Orange Town arc. With Buggy.
Which is like super awkward, but whatever. We'll just roll with it.
So the episode starts out with some more of that Luffy flashback. And it's the point in time where Luffy discovers that Shanks is going to leave to go on his journey. And I wrote down that once again, children are not good at acting.
Man, you're just like so mean to the kids. Like, I don't know what your problem is.
Look,
okay.
If you're trying to make a high quality professional production, get your children to act correctly or
get your
do
children
something
in line.
about it. Either hire some children who know how to act or find some other workaround, because this kid was like saying lines that were supposed to like mean that he's upset that Shanks is leaving without him, but you could see none of that in his face and hear none of it in the tone.
It's like his eyebrows would kind of furl like this, but like he didn't really have any expression like in his eyes or like in his mouth really, and like his face was kind of stiff, so it just made it kind of awkward.
Children don't know how to feel emotions or like pretend to feel emotions, rather.
Yeah.
Outside of their own personal emotions. And that is what acting requires. You are effectively pretending to be feeling or something that you aren't. You're pretending to be somebody that you aren't. Children don't know how to do that because they're self-centered and they're still growing.
And
they
the
don't
kids
have much of an ego yet.
Yeah, and kids barely understand their own emotions. Like they barely can identify their own emotions at this point. So yeah.
Yeah. So it's still bad.
Poor babies. He's cute though. He's a cute little kid. He reminded me of my nephew. So when he was little, I mean, he was the spitting image of my nephew. So I loved him. I thought he was great. 10 out of 10. You know.
I mean, in terms of visual appearance, they certainly typecast the character as well. But
Yeah,
that's not the only thing you should be casting them for.
it's fine. It's fine. Okay, it wasn't that bad. I mean, it's fine. But yeah, like I thought. But again, we have. I just like I'm tired of the flashback being like in the span of 2 episodes, just like plopped in here and there. And again, like with Shanks, it's just like Shanks is just very serious, like father figure that we talked about like the last episode, and it just feels kind of awkward because like yeah, Shanks is like super important to Luffy, but again, Shanks just doesn't feel like a father figure, or doesn't feel like a actual like father in the manga. You know, he feels more like a friend. You know.
Yeah. Um, it's bad in the live action.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Uh, and moving on from the flashback, first thing we see in the current times is Nami is picking the lock on the safe that they took from Shellstown to get at the Grand Line chart, and Luffy is being like really obnoxious about it. He's like getting all up in her personal space, which
Yeah, yeah.
is uh not cool. And it's like it's something that would be weird if it was done in the anime, but it comes off like extremely more weird if when it's done in live action. Because in a sense, it almost seems like Luffy is like coming on to Nami with how much he's getting into her personal space.
Really,
And
I didn't get that vibe, but
I I don't know. It's just it's very awkward. I feel like in a way that's not intended by the writing. Um
mhm.
uh
Yeah. Okay, yeah, because like I'm trying to think. I mean, Luffy doesn't really get into people's like personal space. Like, yeah, he's like real nosy, but like, it's, but like, I don't think he would normally do that. You know, like,
nah.
like he's real curious, but like, again, it's just weird. But
The thing I wrote down about it though is that Nami doesn't physically beat him up for being obnoxious. And
yeah, like
it's
he normally would.
yeah, and the reason why I write that down is first of all because he normally would, different character. But second of all, it's to again reiterate that the tone that they're going for in the series is so disconnected from what One Piece feels like as a series, where it has that very slapstick, in your face humor, whereas here it's like trying to be kind of like snide about it, making all of its characters a lot more serious. It's very silly.
Yeah, because Nami in the manga and the anime, she is like a little childish, and she's not just like she's not a super serious like mature woman. You know, like this Nami and the live action feels like a very mature, experienced woman. And Nami's not like that in the anime yet, you know. She doesn't have that kind of experience yet. So, yeah, it makes it kind of awkward.
Yeah. Then they talk about because what she does do instead of physically harming him is she whaps his hat off of his head, and he's like, "Hey, don't touch the hat. The hat's important to me." Um, and I feel like when they when they have Luffy say, "Oh, this hat is really important to me," prior to showing like how he got the hat in the first place, it kind of rings hollow. Like you don't understand the importance implicitly in him saying that when the backstory is coming after him saying that as opposed to before.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's
Yeah, that's
also a very
true.
like uh dumb I guess way of doing it as opposed to the way that they do it in the actual series where they have it as they incorporate it into conversations with Buggy about like what treasure means to each of them. Um, so they cover this ground by talking about the themes of the series, whereas here it's just kind of like really awkwardly positioned exposition almost.
Yeah, that is true. I mean, I think that does happen in the manga where like she kind of whacks his hat off, but again, like you
But
said,
you
it's just
already
kind
know
of
why it's important to him at that point. You already
yeah,
see that
yeah,
Shanks put the hat on his head, and it's like, you'll come find me out in the sea, or whatever he says at the time. You
yeah,
great pirate.
and and I think that kind of like things like that do kind of happen like in movies, but like but like we say, you know, this isn't a standalone adaptation. This is you know, it has a manga and an anime
Yes.
to follow, and it
Yeah.
kind of should.
I
So
mean,
yeah.
it is bad in a lot of respects if taken as a standalone product, but it's just so much more um, aggravating, and I forget what the term that I used was, when you have its source material that it's based off of. Um,
I can't remember what word you used, but
yeah, it started with D. Doesn't matter. It's awful. Um,
it's bad. It's bad, bad, bad.
yes. Uh, and then after that, they do also some more clunky exposition where Nami explains what the physical like uh outline of the world is, like the orientation of like the four great seas and the red line and the grand line,
Hmm.
to Zolo and Luffy through drawing it with
Yeah, yeah,
chalk on a wooden table.
yeah. That is true. Would that actually work?
I
Is
I mean,
it?
I have
It
questions
is
as to
it?
why they have chalk on the ship, why she drew it on like on the table itself as opposed to on any piece of parchment that she had. And then also why they're doing it in this way. Um, because the intent is to explain to the audience what it all
Yeah,
looks like, right? But this is something that should be done through on-screen graphics. And by that I mean like the introductory sequence at the very start of the series. You get that like animated map or whatever. Um,
yeah. And instead, they made like the animated boats and stuff. You know.
yeah, and like that's the kind of thing where you're supposed to rely on the audience to be like, okay, this is the map of the world. This is what
Hmm.
the world looks like. And then you can talk about how the labeling of the red line and the grand line crisscrossing it. Um but I don't know. It's not like that big of a deal, but it feels very
Lazy.
lazy and non-diegetic to do it in this way. It
Yeah.
just feels like extremely obvious that you're just telling the audience this information.
Yeah, instead of, you know, it could have been done in a lot more creative way, you know.
Yes.
But instead they just draw it on a wooden table. You know, maybe the wooden table was like had some chalk paint on it conveniently. Uh,
it's
I'm just
it's
saying.
also funny the way she like draws the squiggles for like the red line.
Yeah, yeah. She didn't even have different colored chalk, you know.
Well, it's not so much that as like the shape of the squiggles
Yeah,
was
yeah.
just funny. It's
Yeah.
like they probably, I'm not sure if they did it in multiple takes or just that one take. It was like I
Yeah.
feel like it was probably just the one drawing that they shot her making, so they wouldn't have to do it again. And her drawing just like the squiggles were just not the best.
Yeah, no, but like even then like oh my god, it was like even doing it like in different colors would have been helpful as well for the audience, I feel like. Because like I feel like in the anime, like it was done in different colors, maybe the map, you know, the animated map, but like
I mean, different shades of blue and brown.
Yeah, but like, I mean, the squiggles were more. Anyways, but I'm just saying, like, it could have been a better. The moral of the story could have been a better.
Yeah. Um. Now, here's where we get to the actual like functional plot of the episode. With Buggy, and so Buggy wants the map, that they stole from the Marine base, because in this version they got to the map before Buggy did, and
Mhm.
so to get the map from them, he like kidnaps them from out on the ocean by tossing sleeping gas at them. Um, and the problem I have with this is, once again, the dynamic of how everybody gets to the island in the first place. Um, because we already had Nami do the thing, in the first episode of her stealing the boat from the Buggy Pirates. So you can't do that again, in addition to the fact that
Yeah.
she's on the boat with the other two.
Hmm.
But more importantly, the way that Luffy and Zoro get to the island is that Luffy is like, "Hey, a bird, I'm hungry, I'm gonna catch it," and then it gets carried away by the bird, and Zoro has to paddle after him.
Yeah.
Um,
And then he sees the two bozos that that Nami threw out in the ocean, and like, and he makes them get on and paddle for him.
yeah, which is just way more interesting and funny than, "Oh, sleeping gas, see you later."
Yeah, and then like Luffy swallowing the map, like, and
It has
he,
so much more heart and characterization
yeah,
to do it the way that the manga did.
yeah. I'm thinking too. They probably wanted more action as well, but
Well, I think it was just an excuse for the to get them in the tent without having to have them go through the town itself, so
yeah,
they could do it all
yeah.
in one set.
Oh yeah, I didn't think about that because like, what we don't ever see the town.
You see it
Uh,
once briefly,
yeah.
on something that was very highly likely to have been just like green screened for like the 10 seconds it's on screen.
Oh yeah. So.
Um,
Man, that yeah, which sucked, bro. Which I guess we can touch on later, but
yeah.
I
And
was
then
most upset about that.
but I also gave them a little bit of credit in regards to this, because I said, it wouldn't have been believable for Zolo to chase after Luffy if he like flew away on a bird anyways.
Dang, you calling Zolo out like that,
Well,
bro?
yeah, because they have no chemistry at this point. They have
Yeah,
no
that's
loyalty at
true.
this point. They don't care about each other at this point. They're just on the same ship as each other because they happen to all be on the run from the Marines for the same reason at the same time.
Yeah, because Luffy says like, "Oh, yeah, like, hey, we're a crew," and Zolo and Nami like, "We ain't a crew, bro."
Oh yeah, the running
So
gag of not a crew, which
yeah,
I mean is fine, but you're completely missing the entire point.
it's just you know,
Zoro should have been a crew the moment he set sail with Luffy. He openly acknowledged this
yeah,
in the
it's just
actual series.
yeah, it's just it's ridiculous. So yeah, yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense.
Um, and
What a
then
mess.
yeah, and so Luffy, he's, as you uh briefly mentioned before I cut you off, he swallows the map so that they don't know where it is when they kidnap them. Um,
Hmm.
which I mean, it's fair, it's interesting. It's kind of like nasty because it's like a pretty like long cylinder.
And it's like a metal cylinder too. I'm like,
Yeah.
like, whoa.
Where I get that Luffy is rubber, but even still, that's kind of impressive for him to throw it down his throat and like not at all be affected by it.
Yeah.
um,
Which I'm like, impressive. Like, good for you, bro. Like, are your intestines and like esophagus made of rubber too? Like,
yeah.
now we
So
know.
So we get another cut to the flashback, after they get knocked out by the sleeping gas. And this time, Shanks is talking to Child Luffy about how he didn't beat up the mountain bandits, and they write it so that Shanks is moralizing to Luffy and subsequently the audience. He's just directly moralizing to them, saying not everything can be solved with violence, which is just very lazy and awful writing. And then furthermore, it's not even a lesson that Shanks would subscribe to anyways.
Yeah, I'm like, does he say that? Does he ever say that? I don't remember.
He says in the live action, his actual point and perspective in the series is that it's not worth it to fight these guys. They're
they ain't worth the time and the effort.
Yeah, they're like below me. They're not doing anything worth my consideration. They're harmless. Not like, oh, I wouldn't be able to solve my problem against these guys with violence. Because you obviously could. You clearly have no qualms about killing any of them in the subsequent action scene. On top of the fact that even if you did have qualms about that, you could just boot them out into the ocean.
Yeah, that makes sense. That's true. So yeah. And again, I guess it's for the audience to take away. I guess that's what they wanted to teach the audience. Can't solve everything with violence. But again, I guess it goes with Shanks' character in the live action of being a father figure. But again,
yeah,
it's not Shanks, in the original source material. Which again, I'm like, okay, that's fine, I guess.
It's so annoying to, first of all, have your series treat your audience like dummies and have to tell them straight up the themes that you're trying to get at instead of having them try and understand it artistically. And then on top of that, to just not even understand the source material that you're adapting and the themes of that source material.
Yeah, because One Piece is really great at not telling you not spelling out what the themes are. It does show not tell.
Yes,
and
One Piece is so excellent really well at show not tell. So excellent at it.
Yeah, and the message and the themes are clearly there, but you have to pay attention and look for them, to see what it is. But with the live action, it's just telling you exactly what it is. And I think it's probably telling you because there's not a whole lot of substance there. So it has to tell you what's going on.
Rather than that, I think they're telling you because it's written by a bunch of hacks.
Dang. Ooh, sucks.
But, I could be wrong. Maybe they've written a decent thing at some point in their lives. It's possible. I don't know.
I think we looked at one of the I can't remember who it was. I can't remember if it was the director or the producer, and this is his first. Yeah. This is his first or second one. I can't remember.
Actually, I think the showrunner, he's done multiple things before. Was actually what it was.
Maybe it's somebody else then.
Yeah, it's probably somebody else. I don't think I'm not sure the showrunner has done any entire shows before. But he has worked on high profile products before. I think he's worked on Lost, maybe. Don't quote me on that. But this is, I would say, a black mark on his career, even if its popularity says otherwise. Critically, it's fucking dog shit.
Yeah, even if, everybody loves it, but, I would like to see what the second season presents, but, am I super hopeful? Not really, so.
It's gonna be more complete misrepresentations of the themes and, in your face, dog shit moralizing, and it's gonna especially be annoying.
All cops aren't bad.
Yeah, it's gonna be especially annoying with something like Smoker, because they're gonna go out of their way to change the theme to be that, like, oh, the good cops, we have good cops, and the cops are, like, actually fine. We're good cops. It's just that
Yeah.
there are some bad cops.
Yeah,
Even
when
though, again, it's completely contrary to what the series actually is trying to say.
yeah, which is like the system is broken.
Yeah, Smoker might be a good like it's so incredibly explicit in at the end of Alabasta that the system itself is corrupt, and Smoker, despite being a good person at heart, is being subject to how corrupt the system is, and forced to acquiesce to it, because he's a
Yeah.
part of it.
Yeah, and even like the girl with the glasses, she's finally discovering all this, and he wants her to discover it, you know, by herself, and that was
Tashigi,
just
that's
really
what.
hard for her. Yeah,
Yeah.
and that yeah, and it's really hard for her to go through. And so I wonder how they're gonna handle that. You know?
Al-
Uh,
Also wonder how they're gonna handle the whole, like, oh, she has the same face as my childhood friend.
are they gonna have this child like God.
How are they gonna have sexist Zolo?
No, of course not.
No, it's too cool to be sexist.
Yeah, of course not. Like
Yeah.
Zolo's not sexist at all. Zolo loves women, okay? Zoro, on the other hand,
I mean,
that man got issues.
they already made Sanji's characterization of loving women, of being chivalrous, like a lot more subtle. In this one.
Very subtle. Like he's very like sly and kind of like in his
Yeah,
flirting, you know?
yeah. The most you get of it is effectively one sequence with Nami when they're at the dining room table, and he's
Uh,
being like flirty or rather overly accommodating as a waiter towards her. Whereas, of course, it's so much more explicit in the actual series when he's got like hearts in his eyes and like twirling around, and talking about
being a
how, like,
total
he
simp.
knows, yeah, being a simp, talking about how he, like, knows what's actually in a maiden's heart of their
Yeah,
feelings.
and love is a hurricane. Like, what are they gonna do with
Yes,
that?
love is like a hurricane.
Like, bro, Sanji's a hot mess. Like, what are they gonna do with that?
Um,
You know, I
yeah,
mean, the whole slapstick humor is just like
it's
not gonna
gone.
be
It's
there.
just completely gone.
Man, I'm gonna miss that. So
Yeah,
we'll see what they do. You know,
yeah.
God bless.
Let's get back on topic though. So
Now that the
they
ad's over.
yeah, they awake in this circus, and uh, as we mentioned, like, it just comes across as an incredibly obvious excuse to only have one set for the episode, because otherwise, like, why would you have it all take place in this one location that constantly it just always looks the same. It's always got the same people in it, same stuff going on.
Yeah,
There's
and then like
no exploration, no adventure, as a friend of mine would put it. This is another thing the live
oh,
action is missing, is a sense of adventure, and some of that is when you don't, like, actually move from place to place. Then
it
there's
almost
obviously no adventure.
it almost feels like a fun house. You know, like you're still like in the same building, but each room is like has a different setting. You know, kind of like what it feels like. And like
Yeah, I can see
I do
that.
like I do like the circus theme of where they're at, but again, it's not One Piece.
I
And
I
I do like the dark lighting and kind of like crazy clown, but again, like I do
um
kind of like I do kind of like the outside theme like of One Piece in the manga and anime.
yeah, it
Like
does. It does actually take place outside a whole lot more often in the anime than it does in the live action, now that you mention
Yeah,
it.
that's why I describe it like as a fun house. It's like
Yeah.
you're in one building the whole
They're always
time,
just
just in
chilling
a
out in
different
the
room.
same building, yeah.
And then
Um,
like where Zolo and Nami are, it looks like a dressing room. It looks like my high
yeah,
school dressing room.
it's like a
Like
dressing room inside the circus tent.
yeah, and I'm like, when did you film this? Like inside of a community theater? Like I'm confused. What like
Yeah.
I mean
Um,
it's cheap, to rent out, so
I don't at all mind having the headquarters of the Buggy Pirates being inside of like an actual circus tent and them being more akin to actual like circus people
mhm,
than they were originally. They were all just kind of like dressed a little goofily but acting like normal pirates.
yeah.
Whereas here they're like more like clown people. The problem I have with it though is that in the process of doing it, they made the lighting like really shitty.
Yeah, like I said, I do like the dark lighting, but again, like it felt kind of it was like too dark all the time. It's like
I would I would
kind of
say
muddy. I don't know.
yeah, but I would say my issue is more so that it comes across really haphazard because they all have all of these multicolored lights pointing in different directions. So as they
Mm,
like move around in the physical space, they get lit by the different colors, and it just completely lacks like intentionality as to how you're supposed to as a viewer be watching the scene. And it can make some things unclear. I think overall the actual like visual goings on that were happening was fairly clear. But the appearance of it was unpleasant because it was not consistently lit in an enjoyable way.
yeah. Yeah, that is true now that I think about it. It does kind of make it a little confusing with the different color lighting. And I guess they did that due like again to the circus scene when you actually go to a circus, there's like different colored lighting. But again, I'm surprised they didn't try to like nobody caught on whenever they reviewed the footage.
Well, I mean, it's because they're all amateurs. Like, obviously, I do not see the types of camera angles that they use during dialogue scenes.
Well, yeah, and even like in the dressing room where Zolo is, which I'm kind of skipping ahead, but like you have Nami like in the bird cage, which is okay. And was it a bird cage or like it felt
A
like a bird cage?
large bird cage. Well, I mean,
Yeah.
those types of cages have been used for like people as
Hmm.
well.
Oh, okay.
Historically, I'm fairly certain.
Okay.
Um,
Because I was like, was it a bird cage or was it like a cage for like a lion or a tiger? I wasn't sure.
but like,
But
yes, bird cages are structured in the same way.
okay. And then you have Zolo like on a
On the
what are they
twirly
called?
wheel,
Yeah,
whatever
on
those
on
things are
like a
called.
wheel. They're like right next to each other. But then you have like one camera here, and then when Nami's talking, you have the other camera, and then it's just like back and forth. And I'm like, it's kind of jarring, and just to go back and forth all the time.
Ooh.
And you could have fixed it. I'm like, why didn't you put both of them like in just the same frame? Like I don't
Yeah,
understand.
one of the ways that I would phrase it is let the actors act. When you're doing just like basic shot, reverse shot, like showing individual faces at a time, first of all, the more you cut out of their body, the more you're removing of their acting. But second of all, you're cutting out their reactions to what each other are saying,
Yeah, that's
which
true.
that's it's part of their job effectively to be portraying that. And it can be really interesting, and if you direct them properly and write properly, then you can get really good performances when you actually give them the uh camera, the stage to act on. But you're cutting them out of the stage if you do that the way that they
Yeah,
did.
yeah, that is true. And then like again with like the close up of the camera, um, you don't even get to see their full face. because like I think you see like just this part of Zoro's face at one point.
You usually get like the entire like front of their face, but it's usually like distorted at like an under or above angle,
Yeah.
and where like different parts of the face are in more or less focus than other parts.
Yeah, it's just so awkward. It
I-
just feels so awkward.
I have the camera stuff listed in episode 3. Though.
That's when it gets real bad.
That's when it gets like really obvious.
But and then they always try to put Zolo and Nami, like they have them talk a lot together in the live action. They're always putting them together and talking. And they don't have chemistry. Did you feel like they had chemistry?
No, not really, no.
So like I'm like, even
Well,
if you put them in the same if you put them in the same frame, like would they play off of each other well? Maybe that's why they only did them in one at a time.
I think most of that has to do with the way that Zolo is written, though.
Yeah.
Because he is written to have no chemistry with anybody.
That boy don't like nobody, okay?
Because he's written as like a cool loner, a cool guy loner.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's not Zoro. Zoro's so much more fun than this.
Yeah, and like that's the thing with Zoro is like I mean he has those two like buddies and Zoro's like, you know, he's not overly friendly with them, but he likes them and they like him, you know.
Yeah.
They call him Big Brother and
yeah.
And he's like warm towards everybody. You know, like him and Sanji, like they bicker and they fight a little bit, but like he's not hostile towards him. Like,
but at least their bickering is like high energy.
Yeah. Yeah. And Zoro's just like such a warm, like rebellious, like spirit, you know. And again, we just have this stoic, like bad boy, and it's just too much.
He's there to make all of the ladies swoon because he's a bad boy.
I mean, look, I'm swooning because McKenyu is so handsome. He's so handsome, but I'm like, God, give that man something to do. So because McKenyu is like he's perfect for Zoro, like just the way he talks in his interviews, like he really likes the character. He really went and studied, you know, Zoro. He really did. He did his homework, and you failed him.
And then the writers are like, you know, that character you spent like a good chunk of time like reading and thinking about or whatever. Yeah, he's a different character you're gonna play.
Throw it away. Pretend like you never read it.
Yeah, please.
Poor McKenyu.
It's every dog shit fan's like terrible interpretation of what Zoro is.
Yeah. Ugh. Like, it just hurts my soul. It really hurts my soul.
So.
But anyways,
what?
My heart broke just thinking about it some more.
Yeah. So, the three of them awake in a crate, and they bust out of the crate, and there's like a circus performance happening or whatever. Which largely consists of things that you could point at and be like, oh, that's a character design I recognize from One Piece. Like Moji. Moji doesn't do anything.
No, you don't do nothing.
Yeah.
And then you see I think no, you don't see the mayor till later, so like, yeah.
You might briefly get a glimpse of him in that opening shot series, whatever. Because, you know, it's not like the mayor functionally matters either, unfortunately. They cut out Shushu entirely as well.
Shushu, my baby! Oh, it's so sad. No, you see a little cameo of him.
You do?
You know?
Oh, I never noticed.
It's like at the end of the episode, like when everybody's free, he's just like, woof, and like walking, you know?
Oh, I never noticed.
Of course, I noticed the dog. Duh.
Right, yeah, of course. But so what
But they
happened?
don't name him. They don't call him Shoo
Right,
Shoo,
yeah.
you know.
Wouldn't have even been like obvious because it could have been like any old dog.
But I was like,
You
he's a
can't.
white, he's a
There
little
is
white dog.
there is no real dog with the same body proportions as Shoo Shoo.
So it could
So
have been
you
any dog.
can't get a real dog and expect people to like implicitly understand, oh, that's Shoo Shoo, except for the fact like, oh, there's supposed to be a dog in the arc. There's a
Yeah.
dog on screen. I guess they're the
Except
same
me.
dog.
Except me. I was like, no, that's Shoo Shoo. I know that's Shoo Shoo. Okay. That's my baby. But yeah.
So
So
after
he's
the
there.
So after the crate opens up, we get Buggy walks into the scene and he walks in complaining about how like the circus act is performing, but it's really unclear from a visual perspective what he's supposed to be complaining about, because he tells you that there's like stuff going wrong in the performance and that the spotlight wasn't directed on him for his entrance, but you get to see neither of those things when as a viewer. First of all, because the what they show of the circus act is very quick and a bunch of like strung together shots, edited together like smaller components. And second of all, because Buggy is complaining about the spotlight going not being on him before he's even like making his entrance.
Yeah, that's true. That is true.
So
So it's just awkward. It's awkward dialogue.
yeah, if you wanted him to complain about that, what you would do is you would have him like at least walk out into the scene a little bit, and then it'll be like, oh, he's veiled in darkness, and then he'll be like, ah, oh, fucking cut. But like he's saying that before he's even in the scene. It's like, come on, guys.
Yeah. And they could have done that to, I guess, to be like, oh, like, who is this mysterious person? But we all know who he is, so just like put him in. Like,
They
come
they
on.
already showed who it was going to be at the end of the previous episode.
Yeah, so again, it's just, what are you doing? And like the actor who plays Buggy is Jeff Ward. I haven't seen any
job.
Yeah, he does a pretty good job playing Buggy, I thought. I didn't like him at first, but when I rewatched it, I did like him. I did think he did a good job the second time around watching it.
Buggy might be the most enjoyable part of not just, well, I mean specifically this episode, the most enjoyable part. But he is generally like enjoyable throughout the series as well. In large part, I think, due to that guy's performance.
Oh yeah, he's very charismatic. I think he carries the part of Buggy really well. I didn't watch any of the interviews he was in, but
At least specifically the Buggy that he is told to play, which, I mean, to be fair, is not. It's actually, no, it is pretty different.
Yeah, it is
than the actual Buggy.
Yeah, it does feel different from the Buggy in the arc that that going over. I don't know how Buggy is in the future, but
But for once, I don't feel like it immediately comes across as like a bad kind of different. I would still say that it's bad just because the end result of doing that change is worse than what the original series is going for. But the change itself is like doesn't come across as immediately unpleasant.
Yeah, I agree. And Jeff Ward has been an actor like since like 2016, so like fairly recent. And yeah, I thought he did a pretty good job. So I'm like, woo, good job. So yeah, I guess I guess he's gonna be like in the second. I mean, like he wasn't supposed to be
throughout the series.
Yeah, and like he wasn't supposed to be like in the third episode, I think, and he was there. So like I guess we'll see him again.
Did they rewrite the third episode to include Buggy at some point?
So.
Because that's so stupid. No wonder okay.
Let me see. What was the third episode? We got
that was the first part of Sierra Village. But the part that you're referring to where he would have been written into the episode is when Arlong comes to visit him to look for the sea chart. And
then he's in the fourth episode.
that comes across to, I guess, their credit if they rewrote it as an intentional um structural change to the plot of the series, like how it all works out. Um, but the, like the structural way that the season is written is also just really bad, and one of the reasons for that is how Arlong is incorporated earlier on and throughout multiple episodes, as well as how
Okay.
it all revolves around that one map from the Grand Line.
Everybody's after that map, bro, and like it doesn't seem all that important, later on. It doesn't seem
Well,
all that important to everybody,
well, it
in
was.
the anime.
It wasn't even that important in like the East Blue section. Technically, it was like really only Buggy who was after it, and
Yeah.
Nami because she's interested in the sea charts.
Yeah. And then after like sorry,
Yeah,
I'm like all tangled
they
up.
and they use it to get onto Reverse Mountain because that's like the entire point of that chart. Is it tells you like what's going on at the Reverse Mountain area, which is
Mhm.
why they don't ever reference it again afterwards. Because
Yeah.
there's nothing on that map that like is actually indicative of the ocean or the experiences that they're sailing through after Reverse Mountain.
Yeah. So again, it's just like what are we doing, guys? Because it's not like Arlong wants it. So
They they
whatever.
treat they treat that map of the Grand Line as though it would give supremacy to whoever has it, specifically in the case of the Fishmen, over like the entirety of the Grand Line. And it's like that's not at all what that map is charting.
Yeah, not at all. So like what's the deal? It's like they put it as like the central thing of the plot, and it's really not. It's really not. We could, do much more,
Yeah. Um. Some
But
other.
anyways, where were we?
I don't know if I'd necessarily call this like a complaint. But there's this like dialogue-ism, speechism that Buggy does in the series proper, where he says things that he'll do them flashily. And he doesn't do that here, which is fine. It's I guess not that big of a deal. Um,
Yeah. Yeah, and it seems like Buggy in this live action is like a lot more like sinister and like a little bit more maniacal maybe.
I wouldn't necessarily go that far. In like throughout his all of his appearances in the series. No, even then, I wouldn't necessarily go that far because he was pretty like maybe not maniacal, but evil, I guess. As he acted in the East Blue. But what am I the difference is like in his goals. There's like the big major difference between the actual Buggy and this Buggy. Because this Buggy wants to get the One Piece. He wants to be king of the pirates. Whereas the other
Yeah.
Buggy is like, I just want to be rich, man. I just want money.
That's all I want is money.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he wants treasure.
And that's
Um,
his treasure.
yes, his treasure is literal treasure as opposed to
Yeah.
metaphorical treasure.
Which is the whole point of this arc. Cough cough.
Yeah, and he is more goofy, uh, in the way that he's presented, at least in the series proper. Um, but I wouldn't say he's necessarily that different. Um,
hmm
I think
Maybe.
I think it's more a reflection of the tone of the series once again, where he's just
Maybe.
the tone of the series being more serious and the writing being more serious. Buggy as a character is molded into being more serious alongside that.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, maybe you're right. Um, Yeah, but I'm thinking like when he's like torturing Luffy and he's like stretching his limbs. I'm like, what are we doing?
He's like acting like a therapist. It's like, what the fuck is going on?
Buggy doesn't care about your feelings, bro. Buggy's selfish. He
We're
doesn't
not asking
care.
the right
Like,
questions here. Oh, I'm onto something. So you were betrayed by Shanks too. Like, what?
oh my god. Like,
You fuck
it
off,
doesn't make
man.
sense.
So but they did keep one joke in though. That Buggy has in the actual series, and that's the nose joke.
Oh
Where
yeah.
it's like if you say nose, he gets upset because he thinks that you're making fun of his nose. But here it doesn't like work at all. I didn't write down the exact quote that like triggers him saying it. Um,
I think
but
because he says "Don't you know," like KNOW,
yeah,
something like that.
yeah, and it just like doesn't work. It's so it's like so subtle to the point of being confusing.
Yeah, 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 and like because it's it kind of like with Alvita too. It felt kind of like that. It was just like very subtle.
Um,
Like when it's like a very obvious like gag in the manga and anime when everybody's like, look what you did, like, oh snap, they're gonna snap, like watch out,
yeah. Um,
like the crew is very like, "Eek."
well, I mean, they do that here too.
But with
The
the serious tone, like again with the whole tone of the
yeah, you don't get like
episode.
you don't get the exaggerated facial expressions. Um, and more importantly, you only get it once.
Yep.
It's just after they initially throw it in there, it's just completely dropped, never to be mentioned again. And I think it doesn't really work when it happens, but that it never happens again just makes it even worse. It's like, why did you even keep that one in the first place? And
Why did you bother?
of all of the like jokes to retain from the original series, why this one? Which also wasn't even like that great of a joke compared to most of the other jokes in the series.
Yeah, yeah, true. Like again, like and also like they kept you keep in like, oh, we're not a crew when like you could put in something else that's funnier. Again,
Yeah.
it's awkward. It's just weird. Like I don't know I don't
I
know who's behind the jokes and like who thinks these are funny, but like maybe they're are they how old are these people? Maybe they're just older and like I don't know.
no, it's either they're too old and don't know how humor works and don't understand One Piece, or they're too young and and that means that they also can't understand One Piece because they're just like undeveloped people mentally. I
Maybe.
I can't wait for them to cut out Choppa though.
Oh yeah.
Oh
Yeah, it's just again, it's just awkward.
yeah. Um. Once again, Buggy shouldn't want the One Piece. He should just want treasure. And this is actually extremely important. Like in terms of the overall picture of Buggy as a character and how he proceeds in the series going forward. Um, because I don't want to like spoil anything about it, but it's pretty fucking important that he doesn't want the One Piece at this point in time.
Yeah, so for him to want it now is awkward, I guess.
Yeah, he's
Or for him to yeah,
he'll just be
at this
like a
point.
stagnant character. So lame. Zoro's too much of a tough guy. Showing the town in passing when Nami does like her fake out trickery to escape, and it's like, oh, she walks outside, oh, the town's like destroyed. But they show it in passing. It's so cheap compared to how it's done originally, where first of all, for the most part, it's abandoned rather than destroyed.
Mhm.
And
Ghost town.
yeah, and by the time you see it get actually destroyed, you are emotionally invested in the town. You've actually gone through a personalized experience between Luffy and the story of Shushu, of how the dog treats one of the buildings as his treasure because of attachment to his former master who died before Buggy was even there. And then you, through that relationship, develop an attachment to the entire town. Whereas here it's like, oh, the town is destroyed, Buggy's evil.
Yeah, and then you have Nami who
It's a pretty bad thing to do.
yeah, and then you have Nami like in the manga who she does like betray, like I think she's like just kind of meets Luffy, like she kind of just meets Luffy at this point.
Yeah, she just
Eh,
meets him and uses him to her own ends to get the Grand Line map. And
Yeah.
and you get so much more interesting characterization and development with Nami through that than
Yeah.
through what the live action does there. It's here. Because in the actual series, you see her struggling with like her personal morality when Buggy tells her to kill Luffy to prove her loyalty through her lying trickery.
Yeah.
And
And she can't do it.
yeah, she can't do it. But you also get more of an understanding of like why she hates pirates.
Mhm.
There's it's realistically, it's not that much longer, if longer at all, than what the live action is doing. But it gives you so much more in that span of time than what they're doing in just this fucking tent.
Yeah, honestly. And then and then like Zoro is injured at this point, and then we have like the mayor who's kind of telling like I think they had already rebuilt the town at this point, and then the town gets destroyed, and we see that this town is the mayor's treasure. You know?
Yeah, and then the mayor gets pissed and he's like, I'm gonna sacrifice myself now. You don't get any of that in the live action either.
Yeah,
You don't
and
get
then
Luffy
the
stepping in to like save him after first respecting his decision to fight for his treasure.
yeah. And then you have the townspeople who see their mayor like willing to fight for them, and they decide to stand up and say enough is enough. Like
Well, that's
we're
that's at the end after all the conflict is
yeah,
resolved,
yeah.
and they think that like Luffy contributed to it.
Yeah,
So they're
Luffy
like,
and
get the
Zoro.
fuck out of here.
Yeah, yeah. But you see also that like they're standing up for themselves, and they're ready to protect themselves. And then here we see them in the tent, cowering in fear, and like it's just like again, it's just weird. Weird,
I mean, they can't do anything besides cower in fear because they're all chained up to be like a part of the
Yeah,
audience, and
which is
it's really lame.
yeah, it is. It's because it just feels awkward because I'm like that's not that's not what Buggy would do, and it's not
Yeah,
what he does, and it's just weird because
it's really
because
lame.
yeah. Because I'm like Buggy's not trying to keep these townspeople around, you know.
No. Well, I mean, I can see it in this case because he is even more narcissistic in this version. Evidently by like his
Mhm.
obsession with the spotlight and everything being correct and like the how people are applauding for him. I can appreciate that he would chain people up to force them to feed into his ego.
Mhm.
Um, it's just the rest of the arc surrounding that is a complete and utter downgrade in every possible way.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, it just has none of the it just has none of the thematic and like like it doesn't like all the themes and like this arc, like it really pulls at your heartstrings, and it really makes you think like, what is my treasure? What is the thing that I would fight for? And it does none of that.
Yeah.
It does none of that. So yeah, it was very disappointing. Yeah.
Yeah. Here are a couple of minor things though, in comparison. So when Nami like escapes the town or escapes the tent briefly to take a look at the town, she's like grabbed by Buggy's crew and like dragged back into the tent, and they just like let her go once they're back in the tent for her to make her little speech about how the town is destroyed. And it's like, why did you just let her go?
Yeah, it's
She's
weird.
clearly like demonstrated that she can like be slippery and like run away. She just like let her go.
And like let her have this like little speech, which is like,
Yeah.
okay. Oh, and
Uh
and then like I think Buggy says at one point that like he doesn't like being an outcast, which like maybe in this version, like, okay, like, and that's why he wants to be king of the pirates, so like he won't be an outcast anymore or something.
I mean, doesn't
And
that make you the king of the outcasts?
yeah, and so my thing is, I was like, isn't like it seems like pirates in general in One Piece don't care about being outcasts. Like this is what they do, and
Yeah,
this is what they enjoy doing, and they're proud of it.
them being pirates, they choose to be pirates because
Yeah,
like pirates are outcasts, like
yeah,
almost definitionally, especially in One Piece.
hmm,
So they choose the life of an outcast when they choose to be
yeah,
pirates. So it's odd to like want to be a pirate but not want to be an outcast. Uh,
yeah. He's like, I'm tired of being like a weirdo, and I'm like, well, you could start by taking off the clown makeup, and like,
yeah.
then you wouldn't be such a weirdo. Like, I don't understand. And like
Don't.
pretend, just weird.
Yeah.
That line was just awkward. I'm like, so what are we gonna do with that? What are we gonna do with that line? But later,
Yeah. So spider on my desk. So Buggy needs to find the map which Luffy has swallowed, and so he wants to interrogate them all. And Zoro is disarmed at this point, and Nami is the weakest of the three. So I can understand them easily like being captured and
yeah,
chained up and whatever. But we effectively cut to Luffy being stretched out in the arm guards, and I have to wonder, did Luffy just like let them chain him up?
yeah. Luffy would have beat them all up. I'm confused, bro.
Like maybe he would have struggled to get a victory against Buggy in the moment because
Yeah,
his
because he does
powers are
struggle.
complex or whatever.
Yeah,
But he would absolutely like the reason why he is caged in the original series is because Nami makes that a part of her plan and she tricks
yeah.
him effectively into being caged.
Hmm.
But in here you just have to like accept the fact that he just accepted them chaining him up for no reason, no discernible reason. And then you could even say the same for Zoro, who even though he's disarmed, Zoro's still a very strong guy who's very capable of fighting even when he doesn't have his swords.
Yeah.
So it's like
So it's
why?
just yeah, again, it's just weird. And then and then you have like Luffy who's kind of testing her a little bit, like in the anime where he's like, oh, like this is what happens when you go into things without a plan. Like, what are you gonna do now? Haha. Like, when he doesn't, of course he's in the situation where he's tied up and alone, so he's not able to do that. And I don't think in the live action the way he is now, like he wouldn't do that. So again, it's just we don't have that playfulness of Luffy
Yeah.
and like, you know.
So apparently at this point in the episode we get another cut to Garp. I didn't write at all anything that happened.
I didn't write anything about Garp. I'm sick of Garp. I'm sick of Helmeppo.
I just wrote, why is Garp in this section of the story?
I'm so sick of that man. I never want to see that man again, honestly. I don't even know why he's... what is their obsession with Garp?
Roger. No, I can't do the accent. Fuck.
You can't do the Scottish accent.
I can't. I'm no good at accents.
I'm not either, bro. But, like... And what's the other kid's name?
Luffy, my grandson.
I don't even remember what happens with him in this episode.
I hope you're satisfied with your choices.
Stop.
You need to have more confidence in yourself, Kobe.
Oh yeah, do they play chess in this episode?
No, not yet. Go comes later.
Oh, okay. Like, that's all I remember. I'm like, playing chess,
at this point, it would, if anything, be the sequence where he arrives in Shellstown, in the face of, like, the assaults that Luffy and the trio staged on the compound.
Oh, yeah.
He's, like, interrogating everyone. Which I just would like to mention how fucking stupid it is that, once again, that Morgan is not arrested at the end of the Shellstown portion, and that it takes Garp being there and investigating the circumstances of what happens for, I don't even know if Morgan's gets arrested. No, I think he gets strung up in the yard.
Yeah. He gets strung up in the yard. Is what happens.
Yeah, but it's so much more weak of a punishment, and it doesn't work as well as a means of like transitioning and incorporating Garp into the story, because he originally existed to transfer Morgans to Marine headquarters, as a prisoner, Whereas here is like, oh, I just happened to be in the area, and then there was this assault, and there's a guy with a straw hat. I guess I gotta investigate.
Yeah, and like Helmeppo is like, has to be like a cadet, right? And then Kobe is also a new cadet, and like he's asking Kobe like, oh, where are you from, and stuff like that. But
yeah, he's I don't know if it's in this cutaway or if a different one, but he like interrogates Kobe as to why or the events that occurred, and I don't know, it's just fucking stupid. The entire Garp stuff it's so useless and pointless, and I hate it, and it detracts from the story, and it wastes time.
they're Garp stands, you know.
I mean, I'm a Garp stan, and as a Garp stan, I'm telling you, Garp should not be in this section of the story.
He is mad. I mean, like,
stop.
I just don't like Kobe, and I don't like Helmeppo. Like, I'm so sick of them. Like, I'm tired of them. I'm tired of seeing them. Like, I was sick of them in the manga, and I'm tired of seeing them here. Like, they're useless, and I hate them.
They aren't even there for nearly as long in the manga either.
Yeah, they're in. I mean, like so far, like at this portion,
Kobe is there for they're less than 10 chapters at the beginning, and then I don't know how many
cover and the cover.
Yeah,
cover story.
The cover pages, but like
yeah.
if it's a third of the cover pages, that still only amounts to like 5 chapters worth of material, maybe. And that's without any dialogue or whatever to make him sound more annoying than he might be. And then if you like, the anime would be a fair comparison with episode length, where it's the first like maybe 3 episodes, I don't know, maybe 4, that Kobe exists in, and then there's 2 episodes for the Garp thing later on. So you get like maybe 6 episodes of fucking Kobe in comparison to like the hundreds before he plays any sort of significance in the story again. At which point, it's not even any significance. He's basically a cameo for like 3 episodes.
Yeah, it's just so dumb. And too, like Garp, like in the portion of the episodes that we do see him, he's like goofy. I mean, like he is kind of serious, like when he's like training them, but like it seems that he has
It's
an
a
interest in
lighthearted,
Helmeppo.
serious. He's always
Yeah,
got a
lighthearted
smile.
series.
He's always got a smile on his face, even when he's being serious when training them. Whereas here, he
Yeah,
never fucking smiles.
yeah, and he takes like an interest in Kobe and Helmeppo. He takes him under his wing, but like it just their relationship, like Kobe and Garp's relationship in the live action, just feels awkward to me.
Yeah,
I don't know how to.
it's strained.
Yes, that's the word, strained.
And a large portion of that has to do with the seriousness that Garp is written to have in this series, because
Yeah, and
Kobe is always feels like tense and nervous
like
and unconfident when
yes,
he's around Garp, which is like constantly.
yeah. And then you have Helmeppo, who's like grumpy because Kobe's getting all the attention, and like that's annoying.
It's a bit more fair and in line with Meppo's character, but like Kobe by this point, if you go through the same story beats as the original series, that is to say, the way that Shellstown happens, and more importantly, how it ends with the way that Luffy kicks Kobe like out to join the Marines and spread his wings, so to speak. That
Yeah,
is Kobe's like turning point as a character to be more confident in himself and pursue his goals.
yeah,
And you see that uh go when he's later reintroduced in the cover story. You see him on be a different person, whereas in the live action, the trend, if you could say that he's a lot more confident of a person at the end, the transition to getting there is so much longer of a process.
that is just like
Um,
annoying and
and
boring.
and it's entirely because he doesn't have the defining character moment at the end of Shellstown that he does in the actual series.
Yeah, and then like and then you also have like Helmeppo, who decides to kind of like take on his father when they're transferring his father. The father escapes, and he's like decides, I'm going to take on my father. Like he's going to take on the person who's
Completely
kind of.
gone from the story.
Yeah,
Helmeppo's defining character moment.
yeah, and then that's when Helmeppo decides to start like kicking things into gear, and it's just whoop.
Uh,
And
it,
so
it,
Helmeppo
it takes
and
a
so
little bit
Helmeppo
more
acts
than
like a
that for
brat,
Helmeppo, but
and
that is
Helmeppo's like
definitely the
a
turning
brat.
point.
And I just don't like Helmeppo. I just don't like any of them. So I'm like, I don't care. Like whenever Garp shows up on the screen, like I'm like the actor who plays Garp, he's a great actor. He's very handsome. I do like handsome older men.
He's
So
got an
that's great.
accent.
He's got a great Scottish accent. We love an accent, okay. But oh my god, but like I just zone out, like because I just don't care. I cannot
Yeah,
bring myself to care.
yeah. The
Mm,
series does its actors so dirty.
it really
Um,
does. Because like he's a great actor. He's been in some great movies that I've seen. He's a well-known actor. Well known, been in some fabulous movies, and he just
all right,
yeah.
let's fucking stop
But
talking about
anyways,
Garp.
I'm done with
um,
Garf.
yeah. So, uh, Nami and Zolo are like locked up or whatever, and they have like some conversation. It doesn't fucking matter. And she starts picking the lock at her cage, and I have to ask the question, in part because of a line of dialogue related to it. Why did she have the lockpick, particularly the one that was in her sock? Because she says, or Zolo asks her, like, why do you always keep a lockpick on her? And she says, I keep like 4 of them they found the other 3. And so I have to ask the question, why is the lockpick that they didn't find in her sock as opposed to anywhere more discreet? And
Yeah.
the only conclusion I can come to is what I wrote down here is that pirates are rapists and molesters with a sock fetish.
Stop!
Because
Stop!
one of the ones she would have hidden absolutely would have been like her bra, for example, or perhaps even in her underwear in some capacity.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, that makes sense.
how they found those ones, but they didn't find the one in her sock?
They didn't check the socks, okay? Like, socks are a no-no,
Yeah, the pirates are into those, You can't touch the socks.
No.
It's all part of the experience. It's just, you clearly didn't think about what you were writing in when you did this.
It sounded cool, and they're like, "Oh, this sounds cool," but like, did we think it through? No.
Absolutely not.
The answer is always no. When did we double check this? Did we think it through? The answer is always no with the series.
I mean, to their credit, real pirates are in fact rapists and molesters.
I mean, it's true. Yes, it happens a lot. Yes. I have
But
read some.
I don't know how many of them had a sock fetish.
Did they even have socks? Like,
they might not have even had socks at that point in time, especially since pirates were poor.
Yeah.
Generally speaking.
So there we go. Maybe they all had gangrene. Who knows?
So also, they're stretching out Luffy's limbs as though it like potentially could be a form of torture, and Buggy's like, move it 10 feet farther. And they definitely did not move it 10 feet farther.
No. It looked like a few inches, maybe a foot.
It was like a foot, maybe 2. You see the mayor like crank the wheel a little bit, but it looked like his limbs did not stretch like very far at all.
And I'm like, with the actual mayor, like in the manga and anime, I don't think he would do that. I don't think he would participate. That man is too grumpy.
They had a conversation about it where he was like, I don't want to keep like doing this or to this guy or torturing him, and Buggy's like, well, would you rather one of the townspeople be that we're stretching out? And so, no, I'll give him credit. It's fine that the mayor was participating.
I don't think it's fine, but whatever.
Well, I don't think it's fine because the entire fucking arc is written poorly.
Because it sucks, but
Yeah.
But okay, it's the least of our problems.
Yeah. And also the scene is written like a therapy session for like no reason.
Yeah, and I can't remember what I put, but like I'm just like, why does what's his face? Buggy care so much. Buggy does not care about your feelings. Buggy does not care about how you feel. Buggy's a very selfish person. He wants what he wants, and he's gonna get it. Like he doesn't want to know your personal problems.
I mean, I won't lie. It's a fun way to write a scene like that. It just feels odd in context.
Yeah, and Jeff Ward, he did a great job. Acting out the scene.
He really did a great job acting it out.
But again, it's not Buggy. Yeah. But I will give him props. He did a great job. So like, hats off to you. So
Buggy in the process of this like talks about Shanks, and he says that Shanks betrays him, but you don't actually see how Shanks betrayed him.
Because like right after he says that,
you completely cut out Buggy's backstory. Completely.
Like, so what are we supposed to know? Like, is it supposed to be like a cliffhanger? Like what happened? Is Shanks really a bad person? Like, Lord
Um,
help. I don't understand.
not to
Oh,
m-
you know what? They didn't have time to put Buggy's flashback because they had to put in Luffy's flashback.
and well, more importantly, they had to put in Garp. They didn't.
Garp. I'm like, that's why they didn't have time to put any important things in because of Garp.
Yeah. I mean, I guess to their credit, they would have been forced to have 2 more child actors that would have done a shitty job.
Oh, well, at least they would have been teenagers. I feel, were they teenagers at this point? I can't remember. Or were they like
Tweens.
preteen?
I think they were like preteens by the looks of
Um,
things. It's hard to say. I
maybe
don't know their
preteen.
exact ages.
Maybe preteens would have been better, you know? They could have had some
Yeah,
teens.
they might have done a little better.
Yeah, I think it would have been cute. You know, I think it would have been such a cute and funny scene to put in there, and you would have seen Shanks's funny personality. You
Yeah.
know,
But also
but then it would reset Buggy's whole personality about Buggy being greedy and like wanting treasure, and
yeah. It just
maybe that's
wouldn't
why they didn't
work.
put it in there.
Yeah, but also they have Buggy like completely misinterpret the circumstances of like why he hates Shanks in calling it a betrayal. Like Buggy doesn't actually think that Shanks betrayed him. He thinks that Shanks like ruined his life, but not that Shanks betrayed him.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
he like goes off on
he's
some
bitter
kind of
about it.
yeah, he goes off on some kind of a tangent about how Shanks like stole his spotlight or whatever, and it's like,
What are you
first
talking
of
about,
all,
bro?
different character. Second of all, what does this have to do with the backstory with Shanks? Like,
Are
absolutely
you
nothing. Shanks
drunk?
did not steal your
What's
bag.
happening?
Technically, Shanks is a whole lot more famous than Buggy. But if Buggy that actually makes me realize there's a bit of a discontinuity between Buggy live action Buggy's goals and intentions and his status. Because if he actually cared about pursuing the One Piece or being a notable a notable pirate for as long as he would have, which is to say when he was on his original pirate crew to now, then he would be maybe not comparable to Shanks, but like a whole lot more infamous than he is now with a mere 15 million berry bounty in the East Blue. He would be a notable pirate in the Grand Line if he actually cared about getting the One Piece, if he actually cared about having the spotlight. But he evidently doesn't because he's just shitting around in the East Blue.
Yeah, he's in a comfortable position, you know, and that's what he cares about. He cares about being in a comfortable position. So,
Apparently they talk about the town's destruction rather than show it once again.
because they're cheap.
The restraints that they have Luffy in are like the loosest restraints, I swear. Because his hand just kind of like slips through them, whereas if they actually restrained him with these leather restraints, they would be like actually cuffed onto his wrist. There would not be like really an ability to slide anywhere along his hand. But it's fine. Clearly the Buggy Pirates are incompetent.
Clearly, because the way they are with Zolo, you know, but
yeah. I did write down, as we've mentioned multiple times, Buggy outside of the bad plot is actually quite good.
he's great, and I thought the makeup they were consistent with the makeup with Buggy. So I guess they do like Buggy, but for some reason they can't keep up with Nami and Zolo's hair, whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, Buggy's makeup and costume were absolutely amazing. Like they did a really good job. I'm very impressed. I need to look up who was in charge of makeup and costume because they did a great job. I would like to see. Now I'm curious. But anyways,
I don't think, and I don't. While I don't think they did, I guess, a particularly like stunning job with the visual effects of his ability, they did a pretty fucking good job with that too. It was very believable, and
oh yeah, they really did. I was impressed actually with that because it was really cool, and And like I was expecting it to kind of look kind of silly, and maybe they weren't gonna do it that much, but no, it
They
was
did a lot.
like yeah, they do it a lot, and it's not like goofy looking,
It
and
looked a lot better than Kuro's effects, that's for sure.
so Kuros, I'm like,
This-
it wasn't scary, it wasn't believable, it was just
Although
trash.
I think some of it with Kuro has less to do with the visual effect of like the blurring and he's off the screen and more to do with the pose that the actor was in every time he stopped.
No, it's true. Yeah, you're right. Kuro's actor is felt so awkward too. Like I didn't like Kuro's actor.
I
Sorry.
I don't know. I think he did fine for most of what he was asked to be doing, but but just when I think about like the poses he was in every time they had him swoop around the screen, it's so
Awkward.
stupid.
It was so weird. I hated it. It's not a vibe. It's not a vibe.
Uh,
And yeah, we can talk about that when we get there.
yes. Also, now Kabuji has a grudge with Zoro for like no reason.
Yeah, I was like, why all of a sudden did Zoro like kill his brother? I'm confused.
Yes.
What? Why did we
Like
put that in there?
like originally, Kabuji did want to defeat Zoro to like prove that he's better or stronger than Zoro, but it wasn't anything outside of that.
Yeah.
And in here, just for some reason, like Zoro killed his brother, and now he hates Zoro and he wants revenge.
Yeah, I'm like, why do we need a reason kills Zoro? Like, I'm confused.
Um, apparently we cut back to Garp again to do something. This is when they have the conversation inside of Morgan's office about like the actual events that happen. And what's really I wrote down talk don't show again. It's probably just like more moralizing directly to the audience as to what the themes of Kobe's as a character and whatever are. But the other thing I wrote down is that when Kobe mentions that Luffy was the one who did all these things and like gave him courage or whatever, Garp is surprised at hearing the name Luffy when at this point in time he should be pretty fucking confident that it's Luffy.
Yeah. So again, that's weird.
Yeah, because he was already informed that it was a guy in a straw hat, that a pirate in a straw hat that assaulted the Marine base. Like, who else could it be? The only other pirate that's been known to wear a straw hat in recent times is Shanks, but Garp would know at least, that Shanks gave his hat to Luffy.
Yeah, so again, it's just weird.
It is bizarre.
But I'm just sick of Garp, so like I'm like again, I just zone out, so like whatever, I don't have any notes about Garp.
Kobe feels the need to explain why he didn't mention his past because the writing is bad.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm like, Kobe, we know.
yeah, like you don't need to directly tell the audience these things. Like they can intuit it. There's
Because we already know, it's already been discussed like a million times, like
yeah. It's about interpretation, man. Don't just constantly tell your audience what they're supposed to learn. Let them interpret. Let them analyze. Stop treating your audience like fucking children. Especially for a series where brain matter gets swapped off of the deck of a ship.
Yeah, and then Zolo, we have dismembering limbs,
One Piece is a manga for children and it treats its audience with more respect.
Literally, because like children do have critical thinking skills, People who read shonen do have critical thinking skills, I promise. Some of them.
Well, I would say adults who read shonen do not have critical thinking skills.
True.
Children who read
True.
shonen do.
True. You would be surprised, like what children can learn from reading books. Like, I'm like, oh wow,
I mean, yeah,
I,
reading
true.
is good. We need to read books.
Yes.
What's the common meme with like unhinged conspiracy theorists, often right-wing people, is like, just read one book. If you just read a single book, you will have your entire like reality and perspective changed.
Please just go to the bookstore and read a book.
Just one book.
Please.
It doesn't even really matter what book it is. Just one book, please. Unless it's by like Ben Shapiro or something, I guess.
Go to your local library. It's free. The books are free. Check one out, please. Dear God, we need to keep the libraries open. Go check out a book.
Well,
Oh, so stressful.
people checking out books does not help libraries stay open. That's through government spending. We like government here.
Yes, we do like the government. Yes. Woo.
Public,
But
public golf.
but
Public spending.
yeah, this government in the city, or this library in like the city that's like a couple hours away from me is closing, and it's like a and yeah, that they're so that one's not going to be in the city, and the closest library is like an hour away. It's so sad.
It's because your
Like,
local
bummer.
government no longer wants to pay money for a library to stay open, and it's so
And
dumb. We need libraries in the
yeah,
same
and
way that we
it's
need public schools, although to a lesser extent.
yeah, and it's a historic building too as well. So, and it's a pretty big building, so I think that's why they're like, no,
What, they
put
want
money
to
into
change
it.
it to a mall.
Probably. And the mall there is dying, so whatever. So stupid. I hate it.
Yeah.
It's
But we should keep talking about fiction though. It's more fun. It's more fun.
more fun than dying, libraries.
Yes. So
Except
and
Garp. Garp is not fun.
yeah, because he is weirdly inquisitive and serious throughout this entire scene. Why is he asking so many questions, and why is he so serious about it? Garp is Garp is like a smarter guy in the actual series itself, I will say as well.
Yeah.
Just through the mere fact that he doesn't ask as many questions, he comes across
Yeah.
as way smarter.
Yeah, he's just like very intuitive. Like he knows by the way people act and like from what they say to him. Like he knows. Dumb.
Yeah.
And then he also like he listens into people's conversations as well because he's like kind of sneaky. So
The next thing I have written down is in regards to another section of Luffy's backstory, and this is in regards to the fight scene between Shanks's crew and the Mountain Bandits. And while generally the scene is entertaining and well choreographed, I have I have a couple of questions. Notably, when Shanks does his like finger gun thing to be like, I on my command, one of my crew will kill you just by like me pointing a gun at you. Why, after he does that, does he look behind him to see who fired that shot?
yeah, if he knows who did it,
Yes, he should not be at all shocked that somebody actually fired a gun at the guy when he made the motion. Like, the entire point is that you did it intentionally. And then I also on top
he was
of
just
that,
playing it up for laughs. He didn't think it would actually happen.
yeah, he didn't think it would actually happen. Meanwhile, the child that he's looking after basically is like held at gunpoint in front of him.
He just wanted to fake him out and then get the chance to get Luffy,
Yeah. And then I also asked the question why it wasn't a point blank shot, why it wasn't a spontaneous point blank shot, and the reason
Yeah, it was right there.
And the reason why I think that is better than what they did in the live action, why the point blank is better, is because it comes across as so much more impactful and like there's this big disparity in power and skill between the two crews. It so much better conveys that these bandits are nothing compared to the red hair pirates.
Yeah, that's true.
And it's just generally cooler to have like it be execution style rather than sniped from over the shoulder.
Yeah, but I mean, like everybody does look really cool. We get to see I can never remember Usopp's dad's name. The
Yasop.
bum Yasop, the bum dad.
Yeah.
And yeah, it is really cool to see the whole crew, and it's again, I thought the costumes for the crew were very well done.
Yeah,
So, yeah.
it's well choreographed, but I felt like it was like poorly acted. A lot of the hits that the characters did felt like cheap and had little impact. Like they weren't really sold all that well. And there's also instances such as when they have the two guys fire, is it 3 or 4 shots, killing 3 or 4 guys simultaneously. They do this whole sequence where they're like looking back and forth for like a full second at what they're doing before making those shots, instead of it being just like quick pull shot.
Yeah, that's true.
It feels kind of like bizarrely done, even if the choreography itself is good.
Yeah. It seems like a lot more well done in the anime, that's for sure.
Well, I mean, they also don't even really show it in the anime. That fight scene in particular, at least. Yeah.
I feel like they do.
No.
Or am I thinking of a different one, maybe?
You're probably
I
thinking
am
of a
thinking of
different
a different one.
At least not nearly to the same extent. To my memory, the only thing they show is the point blank shot, and then it basically cuts to Luffy having been kidnapped by. I think the main guy like throws down a smoke bomb, and when the smoke clears, he's taken Luffy out to sea.
Maybe.
I'm
probably
pretty
thinking
sure
of a
that's what
different one.
happens.
I'll take your word for it.
I
You're
also
probably right.
I'm also gonna make fun of the costume design a little bit, even though it's generally really good, because Shanks's costume for when he has both of his arms, his cape is worn like he's expecting to lose his left arm.
Look, it's cold out on that boat. He just knew the weather was going to be kind of.
They weren't out on they weren't out on the boat at this point. When he's out on the boat and he saves Luffy, he's not wearing the cape anymore.
Oh yeah.
This is the cape that he's wearing, just like generally speaking, all the time. And he's wearing it like over his left arm, as if to hide his left arm because he's expecting to lose it.
Yeah. That is pretty weird. It's a traveling cloak. He was out to travel. Go beat somebody up and save a kid.
Yeah.
That's my excuse.
And so this is going to be at the start when they intersplicing Luffy drowning with like his backstory. But we start this out with a shot of Luffy in the tank, and the camera's like upside down, so Luffy's face is like right side up, and then it rotates to show that he was like upside down drowning. And I just think to myself, why did they do that? What was the point in them doing it in this way? Was it just because like it looks cool? Like I don't understand there being any like cinematographic purpose behind them doing it that way.
It just looked cool, bro. Okay, like don't question it. Don't think about it too hard.
Rule of cool, except it didn't look that cool. It was just silly.
And then I just thought the whole drowning thing was silly. Again, it kind of goes with the whole circus theme, or like like the magic tricks, like the illusion thing. Like
yeah, and I think the main reason they did it that way is to do the whole like he can't swim, salt water makes him lose his strength and power and energy bit.
And I thought it was just water in general. I didn't think it was just seawater.
It's just seawater. No, I, I'm trying to think how it's shown throughout the series, and I think Oda plays it a little fast and loose sometimes. Because
Because they
whenever
have to
they
take a bath, you know?
yes, whenever they go into hot springs, because they do go into hot springs on a few occasions, he is shown to lose his, and other devil fruit users are shown to lose their strength while they're in the onsen, but
hmm
I don't remember if those onsens are created using seawater. Um, and they do drink fresh water, to be fair. And
Weird.
I don't think there are a whole lot of instances where it is specifically fresh water that they are interacting with that is making them lose their strength. Although there's the time in the Sky Islands when they fall into like the cloud water and they lose their strength
Yeah, that's right.
in the cloud water, and that would be fresh water.
Yeah.
So I guess it is all water.
Yeah,
I'm,
because like Buggy says, like, he's trying to escape, and Buggy says, like, don't even try, it's seawater,
yeah, I
Makes
don't.
it sound like it's just seawater.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't think the distinguishment matters all that much, anyways.
hmm
So, to me at least, it's not like a big deal.
I don't know. I just there are details like that kind of like that kind of bother me a little bit when it comes to stories and stuff. But yeah,
It's
I'm like
like
I like consistency. I guess.
consistency is usually good things. Usually a good thing. Consistency is always a good thing. It's just there are some things where the consistency doesn't like matter all that much. It
hmm
doesn't really impact
Yeah.
the overall like quality or presentation or storytelling.
hmm
Um,
Yeah.
and fresh versus seawater, I don't think is one of those things.
I don't know. I was just wondering because I was like, I don't. Is it ever explained? Because I don't remember. So.
Um, because like the way that it is explained in One Piece is the same logic and way that's explained in the live action, where it's like Mother Nature curses you for eating the devil fruit so that you can no longer swim or whatever. The
Yeah, it's like
goddess of the
making a deal with the
sea,
devil.
yeah, the goddess of the sea takes away your ability to swim
Yeah.
in exchange for the powers.
hmm
But it whatever, it doesn't matter. I don't think, at least.
Okay.
Um,
I was just wondering.
Buggy goes off on some kind of tangent about wanting to become king of the pirates, which doesn't make any sense for all the reasons we said before. He Buggy desperately craving love and attention is interesting, and being a lot more of a narcissist in this one. But it's not the same character as the original Buggy. The parallel between Luffy drowning in the box and him drowning in the ocean when he's attacked by the Sea King is really fucking dumb. They're
It's
like
such a weird, yeah.
it's such like a tenuous like thread of connection between the two. It's not as tenuous as the one we get between Zoro's backstory and him in the well. Um but it is still kind of silly where it's like just the surface level understanding of what's going on, of like, oh, they're drowning in water, and no deeper understanding of like the circumstances behind those drownings that would lend credence to the parallel. It,
hmm
when I think about it, I guess it kind of works in this case because like he gets saved by Nami and Zoro in the same way that he gets saved by Shanks, kind of,
Yeah, that's what I was
instead
gonna
of being
say.
kidnapped by a bad guy. But the bigger problem is that it just doesn't work as well as when you show the backstory in its entirety, like immediately at the start of the series. as opposed to splicing it up and chunking it out across the first 2 episodes, across the first 3 arcs.
Then another thing that I was gonna say was like, I think what's his face? Buggy was saying like, oh, like your friends are gonna come and save you. And Luffy's like, yeah, my friends are gonna save me. We're friends. Da da da.
When they're
And
not
Buggy's like, no,
friends.
they're not. Yeah, we're friends. And I'm like, Buggy doesn't care. Like, I don't understand what's happening. So yeah, there's
Yeah.
just something weird that it just like didn't fit for me. But
Talk about the inconsistency of the water thing. Child Luffy takes way too long to drown. Because what usually happens for Devil Fruit users in the water is that they just immediately like sink.
mhm.
Whereas in this one, he's able to tread water for like many seconds before he starts like sinking. It's as though he didn't need a Devil Fruit in the first place, and he just sucks at swimming.
Yeah,
is
that's
the
true.
kind of like
Vibe.
the kind of vibe presentation that it gives off.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. And I think they probably did that to be like, oh, tension, like, oh, is he really gonna drown? But it's just like, come on, bro.
So
Like,
here's a big issue though, and that's that. So when Shanks rescues Luffy in the original series, he's like keeping him afloat and treading water while holding him. And in the process of him saving Luffy from drowning, the sea monster was also attacking, and so he
mhm.
loses his arm in the effort of preventing Luffy from drowning and the sea monster from eating him. Whereas in this case, he prevents him from drowning, and they both get on top of the boat. And then the monster snaps at them, and he loses his arm, and then he chases them off. So it's the only conclusion that you can come to is that he just let the sea monster eat his arm for no reason.
He said,
because he could have
Shanks really
scared him
said,
off
"I
at
need
any
an arm."
time. Shanks, I think live action Shanks just never wanted his left arm.
He said, "Who needs the left arm, bro?
He's
Not me. I'm
wearing
too
his
cool
cape
for it."
like he doesn't need it. He lets the monster snap it off. Speaking of, the monster doesn't even eat the arm. Like, I don't know how this would be physically possible for something with such a large mouth, but when you see it take the bite, you like see it take the bite. The way that it's cut and edited, you see actually his arm like small flipping into the water in the shot. And I also have to ask the question, how did the monster bite him such that his arm came flying out and the monster didn't eat his arm and it just like went flying away?
Yeah, that's true. I didn't think about that, but yeah, that's true.
So stupid.
No, and then like Shanks, like he tells the monster to go away before his arm is bit off, doesn't he?
No, he waits until his arm is bit off. That's another, again, he let the monster bite his arm off.
And then he's like, get out of here, bro. Yeah. Yeah. And then like his eyes change, like, yeah.
Yeah, there's actually good reason for that. And it is reflective of what happens in the manga too. So that's fine.
They look like cat eyes.
Yes.
Can you give me cat eye vibes? Yeah.
Yes. No comment. But children still suck at acting though. Because the Luffy did not like feel very upset at Shanks losing his arm.
Yeah, but because Kid Luffy was absolutely devastated, you know?
Yeah, but this kid had like no emotion. It was not even remotely believable.
Oh no. You lost your arm.
Yeah, he just like said the line while clinging onto Shanks. It was pathetic.
And it was just like the kind of like fakey cry, like, oh my god. You know, he's cute. He's a cute kid. I'll forgive him.
So I don't know like what's happening in like the actual like scene that made me write this down, but I wrote, why does Zoro believe in Luffy? Because there is actually no reason for him to believe in Luffy at this point in time. Luffy has done,
Because they're not bros.
I mean, they're not bros, sure, but Luffy just in general has done absolutely nothing
You
to
deserve
demonstrate that he's dependable, specifically.
Yeah.
Like, he
Because
needed Zoro's help to take down Accent Morgan. He's done, like, actually nothing, except for tear a safe out of the floor. There's no basis upon which Zolo has to think that Luffy would overcome this obstacle. Maybe after they defeat Buggy, this has credence to it. This could work as
Right.
like a line, but it doesn't work now.
Yeah, and even like like in the manga, like Luffy protects Shushu, and he even like kind of gets Nami to like have the strength to kind of like and anyways just trying to get Nami to get him out of get him out of danger, and like we don't see any of that. Like Luffy is the one kind of kind of being a pillar for everybody in this arc, and we don't see that at all.
Yeah.
Luffy is the one that needs to be saved.
Luffy is always well. Here's the thing: is that Luffy does consistently need to be saved in every arc for the most part, leading up to like the climax, so to speak.
Mhm.
But even throughout that process and afterwards, he does, as you say, serve as a pillar for the rest, like morally and confident in terms of confidence.
Yeah.
And you just don't get it. You just don't get it here.
And yeah, like we in the live action, we just kind of see Luffy as like, hee hee ha ha, like funny kind of like.
And there's a particular like point in Baratier where this becomes like plainly evident that he doesn't serve the same. He isn't a captain, I would say, in the live action. And there's a particular point in the Baratier that like really emphasizes this fact.
Yeah, so I'm like, at least in the live action, I guess they realize that like, oh, he's not a captain, but like,
yeah, shitty
which
that
is
they wrote
like,
him this way.
yeah, but we can get there when we get there.
Yeah,
But apparently,
when we
I don't
get
think
there.
we're gonna get there today. But
Well, we're definitely not gonna get there today.
Yikes.
So, for some reason, Nami isn't afraid of combat in the live action. She is
No,
like
Nami's kicking everybody's butt.
yeah,
Like
she's like active in every combat in this series, man.
yeah, because Nami in the manga and anime, she's like sneaky, and she kind of like she uses her charms and her good looks to
and
kind of like
she's
get
cowardly
around
as
things.
well when it
Yeah.
comes to upfront combat.
Yeah,
Because
she
she
does
knows
everything behind the scenes.
she knows that she's not that much stronger than like the average person on any given crew. She can maybe take down like one scrublate guy or a handful of scrublate guys, but as soon as any like named character, like prominent member of a pirate crew comes up, it's like, fuck it, I'm out. I can't handle it.
Yeah.
Although she does gain the capability to do so later on, she still doesn't hold a candle to the rest of the Straw Hat Pirates.
And she's almost like not comparable to them, but like she's pretty tough in this live action. Like
yeah, she's really tough. She's fucking kicking ass, man.
yeah, and like the way she handles her weapon, like my god, girl. Like she can even do hand-to-hand combat, like wild. Which I mean, like, good for her, and like I love strong women. We love women. We love women. So, but again,
I exalt women.
God, but again, it's not Nami. Not Nami in the manga and anime.
Yeah.
She needs to have this moment in order for like the other arcs to kind of make sense, you know? So,
Yeah.
and it's just not there. So, whatever, I guess.
I'm gonna fucking go bald.
It's
um,
fine.
it's not
I think
fine.
you'd look great bald, so it's fine.
I I'm not excited about the prospect of being bald. Um, so I also write down weirdest use of "don't threaten my friends," and I think that's because uh first of all, they're not like particularly close friends at this point in time. It's pretty one-sided from Luffy's perspective, on Luffy's end.
Yeah,
Uh, but
very
s-
limited.
but second of all, it like they aren't very under threat when he uses them. If uses that phrase, if I remember correctly,
Hmm.
this is like around when he busts out of the water prison, and I guess Buggy is like, "Yo, fuck you! I'm gonna fuck up your friends." And it's like, dog, they're like perfectly fine.
Yeah.
If there was any point in which you should have used that phrase, it should have been while you were strung up with like your limbs stretched out, because while the other two were captive in an adjacent room.
Yeah, and I feel like the way he says, I feel like sometimes the way Luffy talks in the live action, it's almost like he sounds. Sorry, I'm covering my mouth. It's almost like he sounds like a child, like scolding somebody. He's like, "Don't you hurt my friends." You know, it's.
That's that's a really good way of putting it.
I'm like that's the way like I would kind of talk to like that's kind of the way I talk to my dog. Like I'm like, hey, stay out of the trash. You know, like
Don't you do that.
yeah, that's literally how I talk to my dog. Like I don't
Uh,
know why they have directed him to act that way, but that's the kind of vibe I'm getting from Luffy, and I hate
yeah.
it.
Um, I also write, why is it Luffy's plan instead of Nami's to trap all of Buggy's body parts in the trunks and then the miscellaneous things? It was Nami's plan in the original series, which makes sense because she's smart and she's sneaky. So she
She's
was
a
doing
brains.
that. Yeah, so she was doing that while Buggy was fighting Luffy, while Buggy was distracted.
Hmm.
But in this case, Luffy's like, "Oh, hey guys, trap his body parts," and it's like, why is this Luffy's idea? I don't get
Yeah,
it.
Luffy's not that smart. No offense, but Luffy would that's not something Luffy would think of, you know? It's just odd.
Yeah,
They try to make Luffy smarter than he really than he
but
really is.
in the process, I feel like they make him dumber
Yeah,
because of the whole he doesn't come across as a captain part of it.
yeah, and the whole like he sounds like he's scolding a dog or like a child.
Yeah, he's like intellectually smarter, but like everything else about him is fucking dumb.
It's just like, what is happening? Yeah, it's exhausting. Like the more I'm talking about this series, the more I'm like, this is weird. The more problems I'm discovering.
Yeah. And
Oh,
so, after they free the townsfolk, Mayor asks Luffy if they're the town's like new captor, and I write down that's because we as the audience don't give a shit about the town or the townspeople. So the towns, because we don't care, the mayor has to like ask that question, since the town doesn't know what the intentions of the crew are.
yeah,
So, whereas originally, not the mayor would have seen through their actions, and we as the audience would have seen through our interaction with the town, or the story of the town, um, what like the circumstances and everything would be, and you know the mayor would have no impetus to ask that question originally. The only reason he hasn't just asked that question is because we, as the audience, have never been given a reason to actually care about what happens to the town.
Yeah, that's true. And like I said, I love that when we do see this in Arlong Park too, where like the townspeople they get the courage to stand up and fight for their town. And I just I love that. And I love seeing people like resist against their
Yeah,
captors.
it's one of the core themes of the series is resistance in the
Yeah.
face of tyranny. Luffy functions in that dynamic as a revolutionary liberator. But the way he only gets involved when the townspeople get inspired to do something about their situation in the first place.
Right. Right.
And
And we don't see that.
yeah, and you don't get any of that in here, even though it's
Because
like
they've
really,
been chained up
it's
this
really
whole
fucking
time.
core to the point.
Because they've been chained up this whole time doing absolutely nothing,
Yeah.
and then the mayor's been doing nothing. The mayor's been a big scaredy cat this whole time when really he's brave and he's thoughtful and he's willing to fight for his treasure. And like
Yeah,
we don't get that.
God, fucking, it's so stupid.
And we don't get Shushu, my baby. We don't get my baby either. And
yeah. So there's this line that Luffy says that props up a few different times across the series where he says that he's a different kind of pirate. And it's so fucking horseshit. Because to Luffy, the character of Luffy only thinks that there is one type of true pirate. And that is the person who is free and respects treasure and basically the way that he acts. There's like multifaceted components of it, but the most important part is that they're free people. And
everybody else is garbage.
yeah, everybody else isn't an actual pirate to Luffy. In some cases they're pretending pirate, like in Kuro. In some cases they're just like not worthy, I suppose, of being pirates. Like, I suppose the case of Buggy. But he should only consider there to be one type of pirate, and that's the pirate that he aspires to be and that he attempts to embody. And it's once again this sort of washing and this downgrading of the themes of the series, washing over them to make them more baby-like, and then proceeding to moralize and directly say them to the audience.
Yeah,
I hate it so much.
When we know, like we know what kind of pirate Luffy is, and we can clearly see the difference than all the other pirates we have come across. So yeah, it's like very obvious, and it should be obvious to the audience as well. We don't need to be told.
Yeah,
Luffy doesn't need to tell us. The Luffy could have told us many things because there's a whole laundry list of things Luffy could have told us based on the manga and the anime.
yeah.
And he chose to say this.
Yeah. Oh.
It's exhausting. It's exhausting.
So I wrote down a few things that were missing structurally from the arc as well. Now that we're at the end of it, there's no theme of like what the meaning of treasure is. There's no fucking discussion of that whatsoever. Once again, no emotional attachment to anything that happens. And Zolo never gets wounded and never like pushes through his injury to fight, which is
he literally had like a mortal injury. Like he was chopped up, bro.
I don't know about mortal, but he was like stabbed in basically.
He was like bleeding everywhere while carrying Luffy in a cage, right?
Yeah, it was definitely a grievous wound. because he was stabbed all the way through in an area that would have vital organs.
Okay.
And I don't remember what the mayor says to the severity of the wound. I don't remember if he says that the guy should be dead, or if he should be resting. Or he definitely says he should be resting longer.
Yeah.
I don't know if he says that he should be dead. In any case, it's like pretty fundamental to Zoro throughout the entirety of One Piece that he constantly is suffering pretty major injuries, and pushing through those injuries to make him to improve himself, and become better than he previously was, and yada yada yada.
Yeah, because that's this whole point, is being the best swordsman, and
Yeah,
you gotta push yourself to do that.
and you just never get any of the like tension of him being like severely wounded, and none of the personality behind him, his gusto to push
Because
through those wounds.
he has a personality of a rock.
He has such a rock-like personality.
I'm so sorry, McKinnon. I'm so sorry. I said that.
Yeah.
My darling.
And it looks like the episode ends off with another Garp scene, and I wrote down Garp is still here and still giving speech and still loves giving speeches. But those speeches,
and apparently they're not the inspirational, because I don't remember any of them.
Nope, they aren't. And I also wrote that those speeches have shitty editing and sound mixing. And I think the reason I say that is because they evidently used like a bunch of different takes and camera angles edited together, but you can tell in the sound mixing where they're editing together his different line reads as well.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh,
So
I didn't notice that.
So not only are they taking a bunch of different like visual shots, but they're also taking a bunch of different audio takes as well.
I need to go back and listen to that. Oh my god.
It's very
Wait. I think I know what you're talking about now. Oh yeah, that was kind of awkward. I know what you're talking about. I think I was like, kind of weird. Why are they doing that? So yeah, I do remember. But I don't remember the audio part. So yeah, but like I said,
it's something. I mean, it's one of those things that most people don't notice because they're not like deeply analyzing like frame by frame, I suppose, what's going on.
Yeah, mostly me is like the acting, the costumes, makeup, and like who the actors are and like what movies they've been in. You know,
it's only when I sit here and I meticulously go through the series to write down as many things that I hate about it as possible that I notice shit like that. And this is also while having it running at 1.5 times speed as well.
Oh my god! No,
which I would pause it to write things down, of course, but like. I noticed the sound shit while it was running at a faster speed.
Yeah, like I was doing my makeup while watching the episodes, and I'm like, pause, and start writing the things down. I'm like, okay, I can play it again. Yeah. Because I was like, wait, that line sounds weird. Let me go back. Let me look at it, and I was like, oh god. Now I remember why I hated it when we watched it together.
It's never ending.
Literally never ending.
Yeah.
Like I've never disliked a series or so much in my life. Like there are a lot of shows and like movies that I'm like, that was awful, but like, okay, whatever. But this one, I'm like, this is too much.
You're actually making me curious. Look at my anime list. What's the lowest rated thing I've put on there? But also, I actually lied. That wasn't where the episode ended off. I just thought my notes ended there for the episode. It turned.
There's more.
Yeah, there's at least one more scene, and that's the scene where they like set off from the town. And that's so Luffy in this series, he like turns down the offer for food, whereas the actual Luffy would have taken the food in a heartbeat because he's fucking ravenous.
Yeah. And in the manga, like the mayor's like weeping, and he says like, "Oh my god, he saved my life. I will never forget him." You know, we don't get.
Nope, don't get that here either. Um,
And
and
that's
you also don't get the other townspeople like chasing them off because they misunderstand the situation, which is just funny.
yeah, and like they don't stop to correct them because like they just say like, okay, well, time to get out of here. Let's go, guys. you
Um,
know.
and then the way
And
that
then the
they
mayor's like, no, don't hurt them. Leave them alone. They helped us. The
yeah
mayor's standing up for them. And again, what happened to
yeah
that? But okay.
and then the presentation of the hat trade-off between Shanks and Child Luffy is just like so much more lame and unceremonious compared
Very
to the original
down.
series. In no small part, and when I'm thinking about it, due to how in that panel, Child Luffy is crying, and it's just a very dramatic moment between Shanks and Luffy, and in here
Mm.
it's got none of the stylistic look to it of like the shading and whatnot that's present in the manga.
Yeah.
And it's got none of the impact of the way that he puts the hat on Luffy's head that it has in the
Mhm.
anime, and it
Yeah.
doesn't have any of the emotion on either of the characters' faces.
Yeah. It just seems like just like a regular kind of buy
It's
trade
like,
off.
here, have my hat. Fuck off.
And then and, and the kid does say like I think he says like I'm gonna be a pirate and I'm gonna be better than you or something like that. But
Yeah, probably. But
but
the
again, it's
child
just
actor is shitty, so
yeah, it just didn't land as well in the anime. So I mean, the kid's cute, so like yeah, I'll get he's cute, so like
yeah.
I love him. I need to find out who he is because like I like to see his future roles and see his progress. He's just adorable,
Yeah.
you know.
And then adult Luffy is also really obsessed for some reason with directly quoting Shanks. I didn't write down whatever the direct quote was in this case, but he's just constantly directly quoting the moralizing that Shanks did to him as a kid. Fun fact: this show is for babies.
Yeah, because like it has to spell out.
Yeah. And the very last line of the episode is next stop, Grand Line. To which I say, quit fucking lying, you're going to get a ship. And then after that, you're going to a sea restaurant. And then after that, you're going to a fishman residence on an island. You're not going to the Grand Line next. Fuck off. Quit lying.
And then we got to see Smoker. Like
Yeah, we gotta see
we
Smoker
are
as well.
busy. We got things to do. Okay,
there's like you got a lot of places to get to before you get to the Grand Line, and
let's
and
hold our horses.
the three of those stops are unintentional on the way to the
Mhm.
Grand Line, but they at the very least definitely do need to get a ship, which means
That's for
they
sure.
are gonna stop at least one more spot before they go there.
Yeah,
Oh, so
definitely.
fucking
So
stupid. Also, fun fact: the only thing I have rated a 1 on my anime list is to say the only thing that I have watched to completion that I despised sufficiently enough to rate a 1 was Sword Art Online the movie Ordinal Scale.
oh wow, I
uh,
rated the one thing I rated a 4. I rated Classroom of the Elite a 4. I absolutely hated it. It was so boring, and that's why. But yeah.
I think I rated that a little bit higher, but not by much. It is kind of like bland and pretentious.
Yeah. I did I did rate Tokyo Revengers. I only watched like the first season. I rated it a 4 too because I absolutely hated it.
It's
It was just so stupid.
And it's like you got you know just how bad I think that Sword Art Online movie is. When above it, I at a 2 out of 10. I rate a show called She Professed Herself Pupil of the Wise Man, which is a really shitty reincarnation isekai where a Gandalf role player becomes a young girl and there's like piss jokes about like her
Oh,
about like being a girl and him being like weirded out by having to use the bathroom as a girl now. It also has like some of the worst CG monsters you will ever see. It's like almost
what?
blinding how bad those CG monsters are. Fucking
That's
gross ass
terrible.
CG goblins.
That's nasty.
Yeah.
That's nasty.
Oh.
Thanks for the nightmares tonight. Appreciate it, bro.
Yeah. Anyways, that's all fucking unrelated.
Yeah.
I've come to the realization we really are only going to get through one episode in a session.
We just got so much to say, you know, like
So much to complain about. It's so bad.
we just won't shut up about every little thing we have to complain about. Oh, and another thing.
Oh,
Oh, one more
another thing.
thing.
Oh, this fucking gets a 0 out of 10 just because I've spent the time to fucking complain about it so much.
It's a headache. I did write more notes for episode 3, so
Yeah, well, you know what? We certainly got shit to talk about. All right. That said, I guess next time on the fucking pirate ass Odyssey, we're gonna
Yay.
talk about fucking episode 3 of the live action. Will we talk about episode 4? Probably not.
Definitely not, because I got a lot to say. I got a lot of beef.
Yeah. Fucking later.